martial arts together?
Yeah.
And
I had this guy's sword.
well,
I know him. He was never talkative. I remember in school. He used to sit by himself and read books. I was just this guy fooling around and having fun. He was just reading. You were asking questions, you answer with his head. Yeah, no, What's your name? No. What? Is that a name? Shake of my head is not a name. Please say your name. And by recess, you're just this guy hanging out. His mother always picked him up from school. He's that type of guy until he was 20. His mother picked him up from school.
Oh God, that makes me laugh every time I see it. What did you think about that clip?
That's weird. So they went to school together, and he's teasing him.
No. It was a total joke. But that's actually so. First and foremost, is Isaiah Diesel at rhepodcast. Thank you so much for joining me today. Don, is that right? Am I saying your name right?
Yes, Dawn. Yes,
Don. Just try not to. It seemed like your mic keeps scratching or something. So we're going to be discussing the Queen and the royal family today. So I'm just curious if you could tell me if you celebrated the Golden Jubilee? Is that what it was?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Did you celebrate that?
A lot of people around me celebrated it. I think my family did. I enjoyed the bank holiday, so any excuse for a bank holiday or a party, I'm down with. But I don't celebrate the royals being royal.
Did you say a bank holiday? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we had the Monday off, I think. So
okay.
It's given as an excuse to the people to have a special weekend and a party.
Right. We're going to talk a little bit about that as far as kind of what's the average UK's person or British person, the average person's response to the royal family. But first and foremost, can you tell me where exactly you're calling out of?
Yeah, I'm southeast UK, so Norfolk, Norwich, Norfolk, southeast UK.
Okay, I'm American, so you know that my geography is not very good. But have you lived in the UK your whole life?
Yes, I'm 40 now, so I was born in the UK in the same place, Norwich.
And I just turned 40 myself in April, so we're about the same age.
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. So I created some questions to talk about this topic. As you know, there's kind of like an absolute obsession that not just Americans have, but a lot of people around the world have with the royal family. So I was wondering if you have gotten a chance to check out The Crown. Is that something that's even popular there?
I've never seen it myself. I've seen photos of some crowns on the Queen, and she looks very weird. But I haven't seen the actual crown. What do you mean?
You mean the series?
Oh, the series, The Crown. No, I haven't. I think my parents might have watched that, though. So I know people that do watch it.
What about Downton Abbey?
No. I have seen the adverts and the trailers for these things, though.
And then what's the other one? Bridgerton? Is that the other popular one?
Bridget something. Yeah, these are all sort of building up the obsession with the royals and the posh ancestors.
I mean, I'm just very curious if that's something that is popular, like in England as well. Like, are people patriotic about that, or are they just kind of like whatever?
It is not my generation, but my parents' generation. They would watch those dramas and series.
Yeah,
they would enjoy it.
So, okay, so are you ethnically British too? By the way,
I think I am. I haven't done my DNA, but I think it's probably European. My parents were white. They're from Ireland and Wales. And no, sorry, my grandparents are from Ireland, Wales, and Yorkshire. So I'm pretty English. I think.
Pretty English. Okay.
But I'm not really
okay. Yeah, I do want to talk to you a bit about that. So I did prepare some questions here. And by the way, congratulations! I heard you just released some music, right?
Yeah, it's took me a year and it's finally got released again. So I'm happy.
Really? Wow. Congratulations. We're going to be giving away a few copies of that, so be sure to listen to the end. We're going to give away some by hashtagging and hashtagging your album. And then hopefully...
It's conspiracy-related dance music.
So in the actual dance music, do you have like... So I know most dance music doesn't actually have lyrics, but are you incorporating that into...
Yeah, so some drum and bass has songs on it, but most, like you say, is just music, minimal music. But I'm adding kind of conspiracy lectures and vocals and weird mysteries on top as samples, so it's kind of interesting.
I see. All right, so I do want to start off with the first question.
Yeah.
Is what is the obsession with the royal family? And again, I'm sure that this is... I talk specifically about America, but I'm sure this is something that most people are kind of, if not obsessed with, just like really interested in the UK. Would that be a correct assumption?
Everywhere. I think there's people in the jungle that are obsessed with our Queen Mother. But it's
literally
it's very big in America because I would suggest they come from UK. So they're trying to look back and be obsessed with. And they don't have royals, do they? Because it's the free world, and they kind of got rid of kings a little bit. But before I give any comments on it, I wanted to explain that I'm not your average person. I have my very own opinions on worshipping the royals and the jubilee in general.
Yeah, we are definitely going to unpack that a bit more. But so, let's say at the bare minimum, though, you can say that.
I have to answer your question quickly. The reason we're so obsessed is because I think authority, we need some type of authority, and we feel like our original royals might be more close to us as authority than other powers in the world, maybe.
Right. Actually, I do want to talk a little bit about that. This actually gets kind of like into... patriotism, because there are some places that still have kings and queens or like a royal family, and it is kind of like a national symbol, like a national rallying cry. Like, for example, in Thailand, they had a king there, and he served something like 70 years. I believe he died, and I actually happened to be in Thailand when like his sister died. I think his sister died, and they had like this big funeral thing. But for them, it's kind of like they have some, pretty bad. Their government's pretty tumultuous. There's kind of like there's been a lot of coups or coup attempts. I mean, literally, whenever I was there in 2008, and they actually took over the airport. The protesters. Wow. So you couldn't get. I mean, they shut it down for a few days, and I had to take an all-night train from where I was. It was like a 24-hour train because there was they shut down the airport. So yeah, it was kind of scary. There was a lot of rioting and stuff. But anyway, the point is though is that that's like one thing that no matter what side you're on, they both like respect the crown, And actually, I'm not even sure if they do respect the crown, but it's like illegal to say anything bad about the crown. Do you guys have any rules like that in the UK?
The thing that makes me think of that is recently in the last 5-10 years, we had this weird thing where if people put up an England flag during the football, lots of liberals would say, hey, you can't put that England flag up because that's racist to other people that we've bombed in the war or other Polish people that are coming here to live. So they do get funny on both sides about worshipping the royals. What I would say is what you said about the other country, still using it as an excuse to celebrate themselves, even if it's a king they don't quite agree with. So I think a lot of people blindly just use it as an excuse to have a celebration, and they're not literally worshipping the royals. But I think that's where it comes from, is worshipping the royals. So people don't quite know what they're doing.
But you definitely do think that there are some people who literally have like a level of royal worship. Would you say that?
Yeah. Yes. I think even the people that don't know that they're doing it are doing it. So
Mm.
in my past, say, I remember my mum making cakes and sandwiches, and we'd watched the Jubilee on the TV, and it was quite a nice, relaxing day, and I enjoyed my mum enjoying it. But later on in life, I think, hang on, why are we so into watching these rich people,
Mm-hmm.
celebrating them when they don't help us that much?
Right, right. Yeah, it's one of the questions in there about like the opulence that the decadence that they live in. It's just kind of like it's pretty obscene, you know. And in the
Yeah.
UK, it's not really as bad of a deal because of the fact that most people live like at least in middle class, right?
Yeah.
Middle to upper class. So it's not as though they're really taking from the people as much. Like I heard something like there's something like 40 something odd million Brits. Is that right? Is it around 40 million?
I'm not sure. That sounds about right.
But it was something like the actual price to maintain that family was something like to where it worked out to like pretty much $1 or I'm sorry, a pound. You guys use pounds, right?
Is that a year?
Yeah, like a year. So
that's fine. Yeah. I mean, if they stole a quid off me every year, I wouldn't care because it's only a quid. It's only a quid, and I know that other people take money off me for other bad things, and I already accept that. I don't think they're taking money off us. I think they're acting rich and not giving back. That's kind of the bad bit.
Yeah, actually, you know, there is someone else who I wanted to talk about, which was Princess Diana. Though she wasn't a part of that actual family, right? It was this. Her husband was a part of the royal family. Is that right?
No, she was daughter of William, so granddaughter of the Queen, I think. I'll have to look that up to make sure I'm not wrong. But her husband was a Muslim, and he married in. And instead of killing him, they killed her because she was talking out too much about.
Oh no! Yeah, let's not get into too much conspiracy theories. We can get to some of that towards the end. But because
some of the younger royals have tried to split from the family, like Diane, like the ginger man now. What's his name? Even William and Kate and Harry. That's it. They've all tried to sort of split away from their older royal family. So some of them have gone to America.
I didn't really get that. What was it? Is William okay? So William is the one who was married to Meghan Markle.
Yes, is that right? He's the older of the two brothers.
Okay, so you know they left. They went back to America, and I just have to say that since Oasis, Meghan Markle is the best thing to come out of the UK. Would you agree with that?
No.
Since Oasis,
she's all right.
She's all right.
Yeah.
No, but you're supposed to say she's not even from the UK. That's what you're supposed to say.
Oh yeah, I was gonna. But
that's the point. Nothing good's coming out of the UK. So okay, I'll have to add a little drum roll in there.
Yeah. Okay. So she's not even. She's helped water down and dilute the royal family, and she's not from the royal family. That's kind of a weird change that's happening at the minute.
Right. Actually, you know what? Okay, so I've asked multiple Brits this question, and nobody can seem to answer this question because last year the current Queen's husband died. Is that right? He died last year?
The actual Queen's husband.
The actual Queen's husband, right?
Oh man, I should be more researched on this.
Oh, that's going to be bad if you actually don't know that. But anyway, the point was that he wasn't the king, okay? So she was just the queen. So like right now, there's not a king of England. Is that right?
Yes.
You just have like
that's why it's kind of interesting that the two boys have almost walked away from the royal family, so they won't be king. So the queen might die, and that might be it.
Maybe. Okay, but But why is it that it's only the queen who's a queen and her husband wasn't a king?
Oh, I think that's interesting. I'm not sure the reason for that. I think he was weaker. He was weak. And she's got the pure blood. She's from the Germans. She's got the pure blood, and he wasn't quite the same. He was just too weak for the job.
It doesn't have anything to do, but it had something to do with feminism? That it was her father who was the king before. I don't know, man. This is really so complicated.
She's closer related to the pure royal blood, and he was slightly
okay. So this
make a decision. If he was stronger than her, they might have chosen him. Sorry.
So yeah, it's okay. This kind of reminds me of like Game of Thrones, where you have like different families, and I mean, obviously they're not killing each other or anything like that. They're not starting any kind of, at least not right now. Right. In the past, if we were to look to the past, actually, Game of Thrones probably got a lot of their storylines from a lot of the drama that went on in the UK with, other royal families in Spain and France, right? I'm sure some of that was drawn from
Europe to UK and then America and trying to keep your kingship alive.
Yeah. So let's go to. I just want to say this. I really don't understand the obsession. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, the only I will say is I did open up with that picture, with that video of that guy who was making the Queen's Guard laugh. Yeah. I mean, if I did go to England, I would say that would, I'd go see Big Ben, and I would want to go see those guys, try to make them laugh or something. So I understand.
Why do you want to tease these people?
Just for fun. I mean, they're probably bored as hell. They're sitting there all day long. It probably just add a little bit of fun to the. I wouldn't do anything like really rude. I've seen people cuss at them or, be really rude.
What this clip shows me when I'm thinking about it again now is that they're not really one of us. They're kind of like a robot, and it's almost well past the point where that job makes sense, even to the person in this costume. And you can see he's just stuck in that job, and he hasn't got the energy or the expression to explain what he thinks about the Queen. He just has to stand there and get mocked. So,
actually,
he's like a robot and not one of us. That's how I see him.
That's interesting. I saw another clip where a lady was doing the same exact thing. And actually, I got a really cool story. This is related to America. But do you know who Nancy Cartwright is?
I have heard the name. I can't remember.
Okay. She does the voices for The Simpsons. She does like a lot of the voices. Yeah. Okay. So she does famously, I'm sure you know who Bart Simpson is, correct?
Yes.
Bart Simpson's got to be literally the most famous, like, non-person being who's ever like existed, because that guy's probably known anywhere around.
Meme legend, got his own personality, character.
Right. So anyway, so she went to the UK and she walked up to one of those guys, and out of nowhere she started talking to him in the Bart Simpson voice, and she said the guy just cracked. Like, I mean, he just totally cracked. But anyway, that is that a job for like life, or is it part of some kind of duty that people do in the military? Do you know anything about that?
I'd say it's a bit of both. Yeah, you'd get given that job because you're in military and they're trying to find something for you after you've been on the front line or whatever. Or you're just part of the family and you seem like you're good at wearing costumes, and they say, "Hey, do you want to do this job?"
But is it genuinely seen like an honor, like you're legitimately guarding the Queen? Because
it must be within the family, yeah. I mean, the guys that stand outside the temple door and make sure no army comes in, they are honored. It's just that in the modern world, wearing that old costume from Europe, it looks absurd to us.
The hat, actually, the only part that looks absurd is the hat. The other nutcracker, like the nutcracker suit, I think looks pretty good. But I mean, I see the guys who stand there with the sword. I'm like, dude, what good is that sword going to do if you're actually trying to protect the Queen? Like if something goes down, you're going to need.
Terrorist comes along with a big knife.
I know, right?
This man is not trying to stop him at all. police have to come and help the guard.
Yeah. Well, but they do have really big guns, though. I mean, actually, I did. What was that?
They probably do know how to shoot, but I'm not sure they're practiced in doing it.
Well, I did see another clip where this lady got like really. I think she might have grabbed the guy, but he literally turned around and he pointed that thing right at her, man. And she you can see some really funny clips online. I was trying to download, but I didn't get a chance to download them. But people will walk like besides them, and they'll they'll mimic them. And then what you'll see is they'll make like these really aggressive, like they'll stomp their feet really hard and turn towards them, and they're like, "Get away from the Queen's guards, mate!" And then you see the people like run away. It's pretty funny. Have you ever been there yourself?
I've been to London a lot, and I have seen the horses and some royal bits, but I can't remember exactly where I was. I've never been up to the guards or nothing.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of it on TV.
Well, I'm talking about in person. Everybody's seen it on TV. Have you ever been to Big Ben?
I've been near Big Ben in London, yeah. You can see the royal influence in London.
You can't see what?
You can see the royal influence. Horses, expensive stuff, shiny stuff, big buildings. Like you can sort of sense it when you go to London. Right,
I bet. It's just kind of like everywhere you turn your head, I would think. All right, so here's one I want to hit you with. Is royalty an outdated idea? And does it like debase the rest of society to hold such a small group of people in such high regard? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely, yes. I think it's one of the biggest problems on planet Earth. Any type of authority like that is bad for people. Yeah, I think you can have a clever, wise man. You can have a leader. You can even have a king that's just happened to be passed down money from his family. I don't mind people staying in a bloodline and having money. Of course, some people are rich and some people are poor. But to have royals that are better than us and in charge, but hidden with outdated, antiquated, archaic ideas is just wrong.
And I think some of this probably leads into some of your conspiracy theorist stuff, right? Yeah. Like you're pretty into conspiracy theories. So you probably have some ideas that they even have people who are like controlling them. They're just kind of like some figureheads who are out in the front, but there's probably people who are like billionaires or trillionaires who are pulling strings from behind the scene. Do you believe that?
Even talk about it quickly,
Sure.
I looked up jubilee, the word jubilee, and it comes from Judaism, and it's a 50-year celebration of blowing the ram's horn. The yoblei, jubilee. Yoblei means to blow the ram's horn. So I'm not saying it's like devilish. I'm just saying it's ancient and pagan and Judaic. And somehow the Queen has worked that in, wanting us to celebrate her royalty using a Judaic celebration ritual. So that's just, it is related to conspiracy because ruling people like a slave is the biggest conspiracy there is. And that's what royals try to carry on doing. And that's what they're used for by the hidden people like you mentioned.
And I think personally what I find the most offensive is kind of like if you get down to the roots of where these title like Lord comes from, how you used to have like feudalism where people, I remember learning about this like in like elementary and in social studies and history and learning like what a serf was. And I'm from California, so I thought it was like surfing, so I'm like, well, that's cool. But serfs were just like people, I guess you can call it kind of like an untouchable in like a caste system where you're kind of just the lowest that you can get to and you're never going to actually go higher.
Right.
Is that a good way to put it? You just basically have to work people's land?
You mean like just the poorest of the poor, peasant or slave?
Yeah, like hundreds of years ago, the people who worked the lands, they called them serfs, just like peasant,
So they're trying to like label them and keep them in position that you will never get higher than this.
Right. Any chance you ever saw the movie A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger, the Joker himself?
I love your movie references, but this is another one I haven't seen.
Oh my God! Well,
I've heard of it.
Okay. So the first question I was going to ask you was, did Heath Ledger get the accent right? But now that I think about it, he was actually from Australia. Isn't Heath Ledger was from Australia, right? So
I don't even know.
He probably already had a bit of the Queen's English, so he probably could get the accent down pretty good. But the movie, the movie is about, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but he actually does like jousting, and he is just like a peasant. Like, he's a peasant who's never going to be able to compete in these games, right? Like, it's not going to happen. So he gets someone to like forge some documents for him, and he goes and he competes and he starts beating everybody, you know. And eventually, well, I don't want to give away the plot, but it's an interesting. I'll tell you why that movie is so interesting is because it's billed as like a modern day telling of like an ancient story. So, for example, here's just one example. There's actually a scene where there's like a dance scene, and they break out in like choreographed, like American modern style dancing. So it's a really interesting concept how they take like ancient concepts and they kind of like weave them into modern day. Yeah. You know, it's really it's really good. It is really good. It's really good. It's a lot of fun.
Like the sort of classic hero story when you're stuck below, but you manage to come up and show the people, I'm like you, I'm just as good as you. Like Gladiator film. Yeah, actually. And so to me, maybe it's necessary. I'm not going to say that maybe it's not necessary. Maybe it is. I don't know. Having someone above you, someone that's more rich than you, and someone with better sofa than you. I don't know. No, I think it's very natural. It's natural for people to be worse than you and people to be better than you on certain scales. Okay, so that's going to happen inevitably. Okay, like there's not going to get any way around that. There's going to be people who are smarter, who are more educated, just in general, you know. So you're never going to be able to. And richer and weirder. Or rich, yeah, rich. Rich is probably the most important thing. But as far as that goes, as far as power, that probably takes precedence over intelligence. The fake authority that royal bloodlines have in the modern world is kind of natural because it's been there for thousands of years, and it's just a repercussion of what used to be. It's natural, and so but we need to talk against it because it's natural, but it's not normal for now, kind of thing. Right. I mean, if I were given the option, like Isaiah Perez, I would probably make like kings and queens illegal. So there is, unfortunately, there is a lot of places though, like in Japan, they have like a royal family that's, you could probably say the same exact thing that you would say about the. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. But they probably have the same exact kind of family with their kings and queens. And one of those princesses recently, within the last like maybe 5 years, she actually moved to America because she didn't want to be a part of it herself. But I was specifically talking about the, you know, maybe just having like a symbol of your country's identity that people can rally around and people can get together and celebrate like that. For example, having a big celebration or celebrating a funeral. It's kind of like one of those things that, you know, you can get together and have something to talk about the Queen or, you know, God bless the Queen, however, or God save the Queen, whatever they say. Did you guys say that often? Like, is that something you say often? No, I think it's still in the song, God Save the Queen, but we don't really say it. What was I thinking just then when you were talking? Yes, it would be better to have a symbol and a celebration for our land and our people.
Right,
And
I agree.
even the country's name, if you want to use the country's name. But I was then thinking, it's hard to have this. We can't just create our own celebration on the park and say, hi guys, come along, it's really good, we've made up this new symbol. It's not going to work. So maybe the royal family and the Jubilee, although it's silly authority, that's our only way to have a celebration, because we can't think of any other way to set it up ourselves.
Yeah, okay, so there's that. And I am just curious on this. We celebrate 1776 in America when we kicked your guys' arses, because that's how you guys say us. You guys say arse, but we celebrate that. And 4th of July. But do you have the equivalent of like a 4th of July, like an Independence Day or something like that in the UK?
I was just going to talk on, why you celebrate 1776? It's because that's when the Illuminati was created in Germany. That's the real reason. But
you are hilarious.
We don't have an Independence Day. We should have a Freedom Day or something, but we don't have anything like that.
I don't want to jump the gun in this because we're going to talk about the empire, but if anything, it seems like you guys should have like an Empire Day, because it's not like anyone was controlling you. It was always like the Brits controlling other people, right?
Empire Day, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'd test it out. I'd try that. I'd have a party. I'd try it out as a good excuse for a party and see if people related to it.
So, like, okay, so when, what's it? Is it Harry? Who's the one who's married Markle's husband? Who's that guy?
I get them mixed up. William's married to Kate. He's the older one with the dark hair. Harry's married to Meghan. He's the younger one with the ginger hair. And they both kind of left to America.
So Harry, when he left the royal family, I saw him giving this interview, and like you've heard the expression being tone deaf.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy was just on a different level of being tone deaf. Like when he was discussing him leaving the family, he was like, yeah, when I told him that, I was going to leave, they're like, well, we're going to cut you off like financially, and we're going to cut off your whatever other support they were giving him. And so he was like, so I had to worry about myself, and I had to worry about how I was going to get my own, how was I going to pay for my own personal private security? That's literally what he said. And I'm like, that is something that this guy just grew up with his entire life, and he couldn't even, conceive of the thought of just being like everyone else in the world, right?
Yeah.
He just used to getting.
He is so full of rubbish. I want to swear, but he's so full of garbage out of his mouth, because
you can say shite. Because shite's not the actual.
Yeah. When he left the family, the only way he can leave that family is by being taken on by other societies like Freemasons or
America,
someone else that's going to look after him. Yeah, so secret societies in America will have said, we'll look after you now. You have to break from this, and your life's going to change a lot, but we'll help to fund you. But then he's in the interview saying, oh no, don't throw me away, mum, because I need your help and your protection.
I still need money.
That's all shite.
So, okay, so let me just ask you a question then. Why do you think someone like him would step away? Is it because they kind of want something normal for their own childhood? Because I can imagine if you were that dude or his brother, like that's not an actual childhood that you're experiencing,
I think that's,
like, seriously.
You're right, that's the normal consideration for a man is, I want normality now. But I think the other consideration that's pressing on them is the New World Order emailing Harry and saying, we're going to dissolve your royal family now to make space for the New World Order governments. And you better leave now, because if not, you'll be dissolved with them. And then
so
he says to his wife that this is the deal. This is what we've got to decide on. And they decide together, okay, we'll do it. We'll go to America and leave. That's what I think.
I'm just curious. Where do you get all these like conspiracy theories? Is there like a forum for that, or?
I can't. You don't watch one video and get that truth. I've had to watch hours and hours for 4 years and put it together in my mind and think about logically, how does this happen? How does evil? How does authority happen? And it's all. I go to the simplest explanations, I think, to actually explain it.
Right. So, it's not in the slightest sense of the word kind of like a stretch to think that there's people with a lot of power and a lot of money who want more money and power, So that's not like, you don't have to like, oh my God, there's this giant conspiracy. No, like people want more money. Like money and power, they're things that are like, it's insatiable, like you just cannot get enough. If you think of someone like
it's like a religion. Addicted to it.
Yeah. Elon Musk, the guy has more money than he could ever think to do with it, probably the richest man who's ever existed. And yet he's still out there every day, like doing more projects and trying to get more money. It's kind of like, for your average person.
Joe Rogan talks about it a lot on his podcast. Once you make a certain amount of money and you get a certain amount of power, there's nothing left to do except for get more. So you just keep going up and up. And then it gets stupid and you can't do anything with it and you start doing silly things.
Right. Any chance?
More reasoning for why they want to dissolve the royal family and why these young people would leave is because royal family reminds people of the empire and the the world's people and the world. Yeah. So if they get rid of that, but they still control UK with the New World Order, people can't remember the empire. They see a new authority in control now.
Any chance you've ever seen Squid Game?
Yes, I have. I did like it.
Okay. You did like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. We interviewed some of the VIPs from that show on the podcast. Because one of those guys was my friend. Actually, I just interviewed him this last week too, like one-on-one. But anyway, so in that movie, these guys are like really rich. And kind of like the old man explains at the end, he's like, when you kind of have this much money, it's like things just become boring. So they created these games to where they could have like feel a sense of being God or whatever, and
line from it. He says,
what do you say?
You know how you bet on horses? He said, we used to do that and we got bored, so now we bet on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
kind of like the ultimate.
That actually happens in the world, I'm sure.
Oh, I don't have any doubt. I don't have any kind of doubt.
I heard you mention it before, like saying, what if some weird people were actually doing this somewhere? Or maybe someone else said that.
Yeah. No. I mean, I would be willing, if it wasn't happening, I would be more surprised than if it actually was happening. You know what I mean? I would be shocked to find out that people aren't there doing that to people in real life. But anyway, going on to...
I quickly comment on Squid Games. I see it like a Gnostic's allegory for the world. There's people that we don't see hidden that set up situations for us to go through. So viruses, towers blowing up, wars in Ukraine, or anything they can set up as a situation or a Squid Game, and then they watch us take part in it.
I am just curious about this, but because this kind of sums up like what I find so wrong about the crown is like, why wouldn't she? I mean, she's like 100 years old, so why wouldn't she just step away and allow her son to get into the limelight? Like I think you have to be pretty selfish and pretty just narrow-minded to just like, I mean, I know she set the record now for being like.
Sorry,
what was that?
Interrupt. I'm getting excited by the thoughts. Why hasn't she give
hold on,
Kings? Go on, you finish.
Good.
Why doesn't she?
No, please.
Why doesn't she let the William? Why doesn't she make William king when he was younger? And I think the reason is because she signed the same deal to get herself diluted as a family way before. And she signed it off. They said, if you don't sign away your royalty and dilute it to the New World Order, we'll do it for you. She said, okay, I'll do it. And that's why she hasn't given anyone the crown. So she'll die and it'll be gone.
That's an interesting that's an interesting conspiracy theory to have there. But it just seems weird. Like, let's say if I were in the exact position as her, and I had the chance to make my daughter, so my daughter would be a princess, and she could be a queen. Like, I would totally want my daughter to have that experience, you know. And wait. So she's their grandparent. Princess Diana was their family, was their parents, right? Was her mom? Their moms.
She was the granddaughter of the queen, I think. I might be wrong. One of us should check.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a little bit confusing, but okay. So
some of them are cousins. Right. Obviously.
So this is a bit of a interesting talk, talking about royalty and the queen. When we're talking about the queen, it's okay. When we're talking about the queen, we have to consider some things. Like, one of the things I think is the most important is to understand that she's just kind of like a figurehead. Like, she can't really just make any kind of laws. Like, in the past, that was like the thing of like the king, the royalty was that they had like divine right from God to be ruling, and therefore you couldn't like question them, you know.
Yeah, slowly changing into government from royalty
to government.
Yeah, slowly.
But the thing is, but the government is run by the people, though. You know, they get elected and vote people in and out.
That's what they convince us of. Because they make you tick a box to say you can choose this one or this one. That is enough to convince people that they're chosen by us, but it's not. If you go back, the government was put in place by the royalty just before royalty was phased out, and by the Freemasons and the Illuminati. People that were angry with the church started government.
Yeah, you know what? I do want to transition to this next one. I'm sure it's a little bit related.
Okay.
But are you familiar with Alexander the Great?
I know a bit, yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so from Greece, and are you familiar with the country? What?
Conqueror type dude.
Yeah, exactly. And are you familiar with the country called Macedonia?
I have heard of it.
Okay, so Macedonia is where he was from, and it's just kind of like a region. And so I guess it could be like divided into different parts of it, like a country, kind of like saying like the Balkans, you know, it's just like an area, like around an area. And so there is a country called Macedonia, which was part of the Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was like a communist version, like the USSR, but just like in the Balkans. And so when they dissolved, they kind of became their own, like they all became their individual states. And so Macedonia, they actually go by the word FYROM, former Yugoslavia Republic of Macedonia, because they have this problem with Greece. Greece doesn't want to call them Macedonia because they're like, oh, this is like a part of our, our history. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because when you go to the capital, which is called Skopje, they have this giant statue of Alexander the Great. And so Greece is really upset that they try to say that Alexander the Great is Macedonian, which he was Macedonian. But they're upset with that because they're like, no, he's from Greece. And Macedonian people are saying, no, he's from Macedonia. But if you take a step back, you should just think, why are you both fighting over someone who went around killing people like
I know,
and
right?
created one of the? So it's like when I think about the same thing with the British Empire, they used to
Very
say
similar.
the sun never, yeah, the sun never set on the British Empire. But why is that something that's celebrated, empire and colonization? Why
Oh
would
my
people
god.
celebrate that still in the UK?
I think it's racism. Racism through fear. So it doesn't mean I hate black people or brown people. It means I need my people to survive, to make me feel safe. And part of that survival is taking over other lands and being stronger than other people. So I have to celebrate that because that's the only strength I've got, and I'm a slave in the mind. Right? That's what I think.
But okay, all right.
It's a thirsty desire to follow strength, and that's the only one they've got is a bad authority.
But here's something else to think about. Okay, like just think about this for a second. All right, like okay, so British people really pride themselves on being like very proper and like high class, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay,
Yeah.
so
I think even I do a bit.
what was that? What did you say?
Even I do it a bit, and I came from
Right. Okay.
quite common, and I'm an anarchist. Like, but I still like to be
Right,
a proper gentleman.
and especially, and I do want to say, like, although we don't have the same exact equivalent in America, like as an American,
Yeah.
there is definitely like the national pride that we have is something that I think a lot of people would find very like snooty and arrogant. Like we pride
Very over the
ourselves
top.
on doing this, but but yeah, but British people are known for this, and so yeah, if you're known for that, then having an empire that went around and enslaving people, and killing people and starting wars, that doesn't seem like something you would want to like pride yourself on. Like just take for example like Sweden or the Sweden or Switzerland. I have a lot of respect for those countries. Part of it is a little bit bad because they've always been neutral. It's like at some point you gotta like, if you don't stand up to fight someone like Hitler, you're just enabling them. But they've been very peaceful, and so if they want to pride themselves on being like,
being neutral is nice in a way.
yeah, you know what? Because even in South Korea, I have to say this: it's amazing because like Sweden and Switzerland are countries that help out with North Korea. Right. So I do have to give them props for that because maybe that is, you just need that so that they can help foster in relations in the future.
Yeah, different people that are more balanced to balance it out.
Yeah, so I could say that way of thinking is pretty civilized, but when I compare that to the UK, I'm like, man, you want to have the best of both worlds. You want to say on one hand we're really civilized and really proper and this, but at the same time we went out killing millions of people. It's like something.
I would say that the gentleman poshness, snootiness of British is from royalty, Europe, Catholicism, Freemasonry, but I think it must have always been there as well. Maybe the Druids, the Celts, maybe they thought they were proper gentlemen, even if they had slightly different lingo. Maybe it's just a natural thing of the land. I don't know.
We actually interviewed a Druid on our podcast. It was pretty cool. It's a lady.
Oh, yeah.
But so is that something still that? Okay, let me back up a little bit. So when I moved to South Korea, there were a lot of British people who were really against the like Iraq and Afghanistan war, right? They kind of saw America as being the aggressors in the world, and kind of like abusing our power, which I get to an extent. I'm not going to say that there's no validity to that. The problem is, though, it's like, really, like, are you the people, like, to be making those kind of complaints against America? Because if you get down to it, I think one of the reasons why a lot of them were so mad is because it wasn't them at the top of the chain anymore. It wasn't them who had the empire. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think there's a certain amount of jealousy for the power, and America being able to wield their power around the world. And there's obviously an infinite debate forever on whether America should have involved themselves in other wars around the world, whether they should to help out the world or they shouldn't because they're bullies. But other countries are going to be jealous of the power, and I think that's that relates to the royal family dissolving in Britain, because Britain is slowly having to hand some of its power, technical power, over to the US. We've still got the 33rd degree Scottish Rite, and we've still got we're still the original home of Europeans traveling and making laws and being government, right? But we're having to hand over some of the modern power of the world to the USA.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the other part of that is that a lot of the problems that that we see around the world are actually a result of British and European belligerents in general. Like for example, just take for example what's going on in Hong Kong. With China and that was controlled by the British for a while. Hong Kong, and so there's. I'm not going to say it's impossible to blame entirely one country. They don't deserve 100% of the blame for Hong Kong or like Iraq and Afghanistan, but they've definitely played a role in messing up those areas. For example, and this has to do with France, but like a lot of people in the world are really hard on America about Vietnam because they think that that's one of the most immoral wars ever. But that situation was caused by the French. Okay, so I said that wrong. That situation was caused by the French government and colonization in that country. Same thing like with Rwanda and with Belgium. A lot of places in Europe cause a lot of problems around the world. So sometimes America gets involved and then we wind up getting all the blame. It's like, whoa. We didn't start these problems. We've sometimes inherited them. And, it's not like America's done everything perfect. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like America's right every time. But it's just, if you're being level-headed about this, we certainly don't deserve all the blame. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a good point, that a lot of the problems are inherited from Europe and UK. Yeah, I agree. And people around the world being a mess and being chaotic themselves.
By the way, what kind of accent do you have? Is it like a London accent?
It's very close to London, I get told that. But if you go to London, theirs is a lot stronger and different to mine. So mine is cross between city, so like London City, and farmer, they call it.
Really?
Farmer. So right proper, mate. Right proper on the farm.
See, and I will tell you this. I could probably listen to 50 British people talking from every dialect, every accent, and I wouldn't be able to tell 1 ounce of difference. But I'm sure you could hear just even the small amount that would tell you where someone is from the north or south, or maybe even class, right? You might be able to tell if they're higher class or lower class.
Definitely, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But you said you never saw My Fair Lady, and I'll give you just a real quick recap. Audrey Hepburn wants to be like a high class lady, but she has like this really, really strong accent that's very indicative of her being like a poor person, you know? So she hires a guy to like teach her about like how to have a good accent and how to be like proper and everything. It's an interesting movie. I saw it in high school, and but in that movie, the guy says that he can actually place someone within like a 50-mile radius, or he goes, some accents you can even place it within like a block, like a single neighborhood in like a certain area. So yeah, I mean that might be exaggerated. It is a movie, but
I believe
is
it.
there a lot of
If someone picks up on that and they're very good at telling the difference, yeah, it's very distinctual. It's just most people aren't that good at telling the difference. I like the idea of that film where she has to fake part of her persona to look posh, even though she's already part of the bloodline.
Audrey Hepburn?
She has to be taught how to speak, even though she's part of the bloodline. Or was she not?
Mm-hmm.
Was she just decided she wanted to be posh and had to change her voice?
I can't remember. I saw this back in high school, and it's a good movie. I think, and don't quote me, I think they wind up falling in love. I mean, that's probably so typical, but stereotypical.
The fact you wouldn't get away with being in upper classes unless you changed your voice, I think it's interesting.
That's definitely true, though. You would say that's definitely true.
Yeah, I do think it's true that people are going to look at you twice if you talk different.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, can you tell me real quick, just a little bit more about your music and about where we can find you?
Yeah, have we gone through all the questions? I don't know if you want to finish them.
Well, the last few ones are a little bit of a joke. I don't know. Maybe you can answer this question. Why do British people talk so funny in general? Why is their accent so funny?
Yeah, it's partly to do with the breeding from Europe and royalty, and partly because we like to consider ourselves gentlemen, I think. I think I already spoke on that, didn't I? Part of it must be natural, and part of it is the desire to be upper class. So you try and fake it like Audrey Hepburn.
Okay.
The other question's aimed at an atheist.
No,
I don't know if you could read what.
Yeah, but that's the other guy.
Oh, right.
That was actually aimed for the other guy. But I will say this: like,
did the monarch be destroyed? Yes, definitely.
Okay, so here's the question. So you have maybe not the strongest accent I've ever heard from someone from England, but it's definitely noticeable. So the question I want to know is like, when you're by yourself and you're just talking to yourself, like, oh hey, what did I do today? Like, man, I can't believe you did that to me. Like, do you still have an accent whenever you're by yourself?
Yes, when it's not coming out my mouth in my head, I don't think it's as bad. But I often talk out my mouth to myself, and it's the same, yeah.
So you have an accent when you're alone, and you have your accent in your mind. Your conscious is like, hey, don't bloody do it, chap. Yeah.
No, but
how was that accent?
I speak like this to myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but is your accent's like? Does your accent like call you bloke, or your accent? Does he call you chap, or what does he call you?
I say mate, so I'd say, all right, mate. Thanks for starting my set for me. See you next week.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of making fun of you.
That's fine. We have funny accents. About my music, it's just dance music, and it's about a conspiracy and the occult.
Yeah, well, why do you think Americans love British accents so much?
Oh, I think Americans wish they were as gentlemanly as us. They're jealous. I don't know if you can hear me, can you, in the headphones?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I had a little bit of
I can hear
problem.
I can hear you.
Hey, mate, can you hear me? I'm not sure my microphone went out. Can you hear me?
I can.
Uh-oh, seems like we're having a little bit of technical
I can hear you, but when
difficulties.
You put the headphones...
You can hear me? Okay, so let's just talk really quickly about music and about how we can find you online. If you can give me your website or social media or anything like that, or there's a, you said you released a four track like download, so we want to give away a few copies of that. Okay, Don Threader. That is very clever to use Don Threader as your name. But yeah, if you can go ahead and talk on that, please.
Oh yeah, sorry. My music is conspiracy theorist dance music, really heavy drum and bass.
Don Threader is from the Narnia book. So
my name is Dawn Treader, from the ship from Narnia.
Okay, so we're gonna hashtag to, let's put this in the section. If you want to win a copy, you can put, let's see, Witchcraft, and he has a very clever name, which is Don Threader. Don Threader. Hopefully I spelled it right. And yeah, we're going to give away 3 copies. Do you have a link to where we can find it online? Okay, so we're going to put this right here. Yeah, we'll give away 3 copies. What you're going to want to do is like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and we're going to give away a few of those. And yeah, do you have any last thoughts that you want to talk about, either about the royal family or just whatever? You know, you can talk about whatever you'd like to.
On the royal family, my opinion is that authority will always exist, but you should try your best not to worship authority, because it means you're giving away strength to someone else, normally a psychopath. So if you want to regain your own strength, stop worshipping authority.
You know, I'm not even sure. We've kind of had something go down with, because my speaker, my headset died. So now I'm not sure if I could just hear anything. I'm not sure if it's you or if it's me, but I can't hear anything right now. So we are going to have to come to a conclusion right now, because I'm not even sure. Are you talking? They can still hear you. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm just going to finish up then, if you can hear me. So yeah, what I do want to say is that, I don't know, I think just seeing people in general as having more or less value is wrong in general. And so we can do this with looks, whether or not someone is handsome or ugly, or whether or not if someone is older or younger, whether or not they're from your country or another country, or if they're rich or poor. You know, I think we're all going to find ourselves doing that. And as the father of a half Korean child, I say with great sadness that I find myself naturally doing that, like naturally thinking of people as being more important based on their skin color. And it's something that I find myself doing in my thoughts and in my actions, and that I really got to keep in check, because I don't want my daughter being treated like that. I know what it's like to be, as a Mexican or as an American, I know what it's like to be treated as less than a first-class citizen. And so I know I don't want to experience that. And, you know, we shouldn't be doing that to other people. And so the royal family can, you know, we can kind of take a look at them and say, oh, well, this is wrong that everybody's doing this or that. I mean, but the truth is that, again, we're all doing this in some way or another. So maybe sometimes we need to see some extreme examples of things that helps to open our eyes. And they might be like just the most extreme example, but just because they, we can point to others or point to them, we all have more, at least if you're watching this, you have access to the internet and access to most likely food and things. There's a lot of people out there who don't have access to the very basic things that we have. So even if we're not kings and queens, we really can sometimes live like kings or queens compared to others. We are like a kind of royalty to them. So just keep that in mind, as we're going through our time, our day, that we can take time to help each other and to show respect and to validate each other where we are. And I really want to thank Don for your time, for joining me today. I didn't mean the jokes about the accents, the funny accents. I love British accents. Even to this day, when I hear British accent, just the automatic thought comes into my mind that this is either a smart person or this is a good person. So,
oh, thank you.
That maybe this person's like cool or special. So that can even be a type of stereotype or prejudice that I have. But anyway, let's all just be aware of that. And thank you for joining us, RG Podcast, Respect, Humility, and Empathy. Check us out at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify. Just about everywhere you can find someone, you can find us. So we look forward to seeing you back for more empathetic and respectful conversations. Goodbye.